In the small, sleepy town of Havens Reach, 17-year-old Jake Thomas was known as an outsider. He wasn't unpopular, just invisible. But he was fine with that. He had enough drama in his life with schoolwork, a part-time job at his uncle's garage, and a family that seemed more invested in old arguments than in each other. One late evening, after a particularly brutal day, Jake decided to unwind by hiking along the trail behind the abandoned space observatory on the outskirts of town. The building had been shuttered since the 90s, but Jake often went there to clear his mind. This time, he wasn't alone. As he walked up the hill toward the observatory, he noticed something strange half buried in the dirt under a collapsed tree. It was metallic, but not quite like anything he'd seen before. Brushing off the dirt, he saw it was a helmet, larger and more intricate than anything human-made, with faint silver and blue engravings that pulsed faintly when he touched them. "What the heck is this?" he thought, turning it over. Curiosity quickly overwhelmed caution, and he slipped it over his head. The instant the helmet touched his skin, a jolt of energy surged through him. His vision swam, his ears rang, and suddenly he was hearing voices. Dozens of them. He looked around, confused. He was alone on this hilltop. Then, the realization hit him like a lightning bolt. The helmet was allowing him to hear other people's thoughts. He pulled it off in a panic, gasping for air. "What was that?" he whispered, inspecting the helmet. But now, the helmet felt like it was calling to him, humming softly with an energy he couldn't resist. He put it back on, and this time, he tried to listen to the voices. The helmet didn't just amplify thoughts, it directed them. He could focus on individual people and hone in on their thoughts, almost like tuning a radio. With a little hesitation, he decided to test his new ability the next day at school. The day started like any other, but Jake had never felt so alive or so anxious. He slipped the helmet on in the parking lot, and as he walked through the school, he focused on nearby students, teachers, even his principal. At first, it was chaotic, a mess of inner monologues, but soon he started understanding it. He heard Emily, the girl he'd had a crush on for years, wondering if she'd done well on her history exam. He heard the math teacher rehearsing a breakup conversation in his head. He even caught the principal's secret thoughts, plotting ways to increase funding for the underfunded arts program. It wasn't until he overheard the darkest thoughts he'd ever encountered that he realized the helmet had a far more profound purpose. One of his classmates, Sam, who usually kept to himself, was nursing intense resentment and deep sorrow. Jake delved deeper and was shocked to uncover images of loneliness, bullying, and a simmering anger that Sam had kept hidden. Jake tried to shut out Sam's thoughts, but he couldn't. They were too loud, too desperate. He knew what he had to do. The next day, he sought out Sam at lunch. He struck up a conversation, steering it towards the struggles they shared about fitting in. Sam seemed caught off guard at first, but soon started to open up. They talked, and as they did, Jake could feel the tension in Sam's thoughts ease. Over the next few weeks, Jake continued using the helmet cautiously, reaching out to classmates he sensed were struggling, nudging them toward people who could help or just being a friend. But the helmet also had its dangers. The more he used it, the more he felt it binding to his mind, merging with his thoughts. He feared it would eventually take him over entirely, leaving him as a mere vessel for its power. One night, he decided to visit the observatory again, hoping he might find clues about the helmet's origin. To his surprise, the moment he arrived, he saw a faint, shimmering figure, a humanoid alien in an advanced, glowing suit. The alien introduced himself telepathically as Xyler, a guardian from an ancient race tasked with protecting less advanced civilizations from themselves. The helmet, Xyler explained, was a tool meant for guiding and supporting, used by empaths in their civilization. Somehow, it had found its way to Earth, and Jake was its latest wielder. "Be careful," Xyler's voice echoed in his mind. "The helmet's power is immense, but it can consume its user. If you choose to keep it, you must always keep your empathy at the forefront. It is a burden few can carry." Jake nodded, feeling a mix of awe and fear. He was given a choice: keep the helmet and continue using it to help others, or return it to Xyler and live his life as an ordinary human. After a moment's thought, he handed it back. "I think it's better off with you," he said. I don't want to lose myself in it. Zyler looked at him with what Jake could only describe as a smile. Wisely chosen, he replied. You do not need a helmet to change lives. That power was in you all along. And with that, Zyler and the helmet vanished into the night, leaving Jake standing alone under the stars, feeling as though he had lost nothing but gained everything. In the days that followed, Jake noticed a change in himself. He couldn't read minds, but he could still feel the emotions of others, like faint echoes. The helmet's touch hadn't fully faded, and he found himself more attuned to the people around him, more aware of their struggles. Though the helmet was gone, he had been forever changed, and in a way, he knew that he would carry the responsibility and empathy it had awakened in him for the rest of his life.